This is where one of two 3-story apartment buildings for vets will be built. Construction for the second location will take place right across the street. Both structures providing affordable options for those who have served our country. We're live in Madera. Corey James, ABC 30 Action News.
It's unfortunate that we couldn't do a groundbreaking ceremony like we traditionally do, where we acknowledge the projects being started, the cooperation amongst the different agencies that are here. But unfortunately, because of COVID, we can't do that. Even though my partners aren't here with me today, I acknowledge them and the hard work that they're doing to make this project come to fruition. Keep wearing a mask, social distance, and we will defeat COVID, and we will get back to a semblance of normalcy.
The challenges of the pandemic are great. As we know, we're all facing difficulties, but at the City of Madera, we're still moving forward. We're still putting dirt in the air. The need for affordable housing is great, and what better than combine the two of affordable housing for our veterans, our seniors, and our families, and right here in the heart of our downtown.
This is a great example of what a handful of partners can do to create this synergy and realize a project of this size. With the shortage of inventory, especially in the Central Valley, we need more housing, affordable housing, to meet the demands of our veterans, our seniors, and those low-income families. With the small investment that the city made, we're looking at capturing over $3.7 million in infrastructure with transportation, ADA, and other transportation needs that we need for our community. The synergy that's created with public and private partnerships is huge. The investment that we're making here and the return we're getting back is bigger than what we can imagine.
We have been trying to make improvements in downtown Madera for years. For us to be awarded these monies, $11 million to start this project, means more affordable housing and an uplifting of the downtown area, making it a better place for people to come and live and be able to come and shop.
We started with hosting roundtable community meetings with various organizations in Madera to discuss housing and the needs in the community. And that's sort of where this thing took off. We kept hearing over and over again the huge need for more housing in downtown Madera. And we started looking at infill sites that were publicly owned. We invited the Strategic Growth Council from Sacramento down to take a van tour. They pointed to the downtown site and said that would be a good one.
COVID-19 affecting our economy and affecting our city in so many ways. It's nice to continue to see growth and continue to see prosperity within our city limits. It's important that we provide housing, especially for our veterans. I mean, they've given so much to us. You know, as a child of a veteran and a grandchild of a veteran, all those people, not just the ones in my family, but wherever they are, that we make sure that we honor them and pay them their due respect.
When we talk about walkability, when we talk about investing in our small businesses, downtown Madera truly is the backbone of who we are. It was a number of partners that shared that vision, that came together so that this downtown housing project can come to fruition. It really shows that a community that can come together and work together, anything is possible. Great, thank you. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us at this regular meeting of the Madera City Council. Today is Wednesday, November 18th. The time is 6 p.m. and this meeting will be conducted pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order, which suspends certain requirements of the Ralph M. Brown Act. The City Council meeting will be live streamed on the city's website, and members of the public may wish to participate in the meeting remotely through an electronic meeting via phone by dialing 669-900-6833 and enter ID number 953-9055-5829 pound, followed by *9 on your phone if you wish to speak. Comments will also be accepted via email at citycouncilpubliccomment@madera.gov. I'll ask our city clerk now to please conduct roll.
Mayor Medellin.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia.
Here.
Councilmember Gallegos.
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Montes.
Here.
Councilmember Robinson.
Present.
And Councilmember Hawley. I do not see him on our screen. I will reach out to him.
Or do I? Thank you very much, Elisa. So for the time being, Councilman Hawley is absent. We have with us, I believe we have with us this evening, Pastor Fred Thurman from New Life Assembly to lead us in the invocation. Is Pastor Fred with us?
No, Mayor.
I do not see him.
I do not see him logged on.
Nor do I. So at this time, I will ask Councilman Robinson if he will lead us in this evening's prayer. And then I will then ask for the Pledge of Allegiance, our Fire Chief, Chief Watson, if he would not mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. First, if you are able to stand, and we will now welcome Councilman Robinson for the invocation.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you, Lord, seeking guidance, Lord, to make the city a vibrant city, Lord, a livable city, Lord. We pray for all the councilmen, our mayor, Lord, to give them the wisdom to do the right thing for the people. And we give you the glory forevermore because you're worthy. We pray for those, Lord, who are suffering from COVID. And we pray, Lord, that you heal them. And we pray that for the opening of our businesses, our churches, so that we can praise you forevermore. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Mr. Councilman. Chief Watson, if you would, please.
You might be muted, Mayor.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I was trying to unmute. Flag salute, ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Thank you very much, Chief. I appreciate that. Moving on to the approval of the agenda. And before we get into that, it seems like everybody's at home and maybe a different atmosphere than usual. I certainly am myself, so I don't have my usual screens in front of me, so I cannot see everybody at once. So I'll apologize ahead of time if I don't acknowledge you right away. Probably at this point, I would not mind if you would raise your hand or use the emoji. If I don't recognize you, please feel free to recognize yourself and speak up. So I'll apologize ahead of time. That being said, I'll move into the approval of the agenda. I'll ask my colleagues if there's any additions or changes to the agenda, and if not, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Rodriguez and seconded by Councilman Robinson to approve this evening's agenda with no changes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries unanimously with Councilman Hawley, I believe, still is absent. Moving on to public comment, for the first 15 minutes are reserved for members of the public to address the council on items which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes, and speakers will be asked, but are not required, to identify themselves and state the subject of their comment. If the subject is an item on the agenda, the mayor has the option of asking the speaker to hold that comment until the item is called. Comments on items listed as a public hearing on the agenda should be held until a hearing is opened. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda, and no adverse conclusion should be drawn if the council does not respond to public comment at this time. I'll ask our clerk if we have received any public comment via email or otherwise.
No, Mayor, not at this time.
And I do not see any participants this evening. Allow me to double check. Wishing to speak. Seeing none, we'll close public comment, move into our presentations this evening. The first presentation we have is the public health update on COVID-19. I see Ms. Boss is with us again this evening. Good evening, Sarah. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Great. We look forward to your information, please.
Well, as you all have heard in lots of news reports, there have been swift actions on behalf of the state in response to steeply increasing number of cases. We're seeing that in Madera County, as well as across the state. Of the last 6 days, even if you're looking at reported cases and not looking at like case rate based on episode, which they don't track exactly the same, but we can see them both increasing. But out of the last 6 days, we've had 5 of those days at 30 cases and up, the highest being on Friday with 49 new cases being reported. So that is significantly higher. The thing that is most alarming, and the reason why the action was so swift, is that when we saw the beginning of the surge, but the last one that really hit its peak in July, it was a much more gradual increase of cases. The slope was gradual. And so we had time to kind of tool up and respond and figure things out. This one is a lot more steep. So the cases are going up, and they're going up really fast. So that's why there was swift action on behalf of the state. When we see cases that are going up this quickly, it's not very long before we see hospitalizations rise. In Madera County, we already have seen hospitalizations go up. At this point, Madera Community Hospital's ICU is at full capacity. There are no ICU beds available at this time. Not all of them are COVID patients, but we do have a number of COVID patients in the hospital. And so we're already seeing the early signs of hospitalizations increasing as a result of these cases. So that indicator going up as quickly as it is also concerning. So it's really important that people recognize that actions that we take today are going to have kind of a ripple effect. When you look at disease and the way that it spreads, if one person gives it to 2 people, then those 2 people give it to 4 people, and those 4 people give it to 8, and that's called exponential growth. Right now, our growth pattern is 1.2. So every single person on average gives it to 1.2 people. Anything above 1 means we're increasing. For a while there, we sat right around 1. Sometimes we went down to as low as 0.9. But now it's that it's called an R factor, is increasing steadily. So we're concerned about where this is headed, especially as plans have already been made for gatherings around Thanksgiving and heading into holidays. So we wanted to communicate, most importantly, that it's really critical that people keep their gatherings to a small group. The guidance right now is 3 households or less. We were told on a call tonight that there'll be guidance, very likely guidance tomorrow, that will also add a number of people as a limitation. The number that was presented was 12. We'll see what the state actually produces, but 12 is a number that has been offered on numerous occasions in terms of what is reasonable. And then, of course, gathering outside is safer than gathering inside. We all know the fundamentals but many of us, and understandably so, are we're weary of following this guidance for such a long period of time, and so many are not following it in the same way, it appears, and it introduces risk that we're hoping to flatten as quickly as possible. So we really encourage people to continue wearing masks whenever they're out and about, and of course distancing. We want to encourage people also to kind of shop with their feet in places that are safe. So as customers, we have power to really send messages to businesses around, we want people to be following guidance, we want businesses to be enforcing guidance, and we want businesses, of course, to be as open as possible in safe ways. And so the way that we can do that is if each of us are doing what we can individually to slow the spread of COVID-19. That means not going out when we have symptoms, not going to work when we have symptoms, and letting people know if they've been exposed. The other big thing that we need to encourage and want to continue encouraging is testing. Testing is critical for lots of reasons. First of all, we want to be able to know where the cases are so that we can help people isolate and contact their close contacts and help them to quarantine. The second thing that does is it lowers our positivity rate, which as we're in the surge, the state has adjusted how the tiers are working, and that our positivity rates, if our case rate is purple, then we're purple. But the surge won't last for forever, right? So the tiers aren't going away. As we come out of this, what looks like a surge that's happening on, we're gonna go over the curve and come to the other side. When we come to the other side, we need people testing, even if they don't have symptoms, so that we can get our positivity rates as low as possible and hopefully move forward. We have still a pending adjudication with the state in which we have communicated the multiple issues in the tier structure for Madera County and its population size. Our data is highly variable and volatile due to our population size, and that has caused us some significant issues with regards to our ability to move into the red tier, even though neighboring counties with very similar data were able to do that. So we will continue to advocate for a shift in the tier structure so that when we see the other side of this surge, we will be able to move forward appropriately for our county. We're not asking for exceptions, we're asking for reasonable guidance and structure for a population our size, so that we're truly responsive to the data the way the tiers are supposed to function, but haven't been functioning well for Madera. So we need people to be testing as much as possible. Anyone who's out at work or out doing their business needs, on a regular basis, needs to be testing every 4 to 6 weeks. The other good news that I have is that we have communication back from the state that they have approved additional test sites for Madera County. We're working really hard, and Madera is like right at the front of the line because we are sending email after email and phone call after phone call about when is this going to roll out, getting the MOU in place to be able to do it. And we're looking at 5 additional sites in the Valley that would run 7 to 7 not every day, but at each one of those sites, it would be 1 day. So once we have that completely firmed up and we know, then we'll make that announcement, and we anticipate that they will start around December 1st. That's the preliminary date that we've received from the state. So that's going to enable us to do more testing, which will facilitate the other big ask that I've had in terms of people testing even without symptoms. During a surge time, of course, if people have symptoms, we definitely need people to be testing if they have symptoms. And so, if space becomes limited, we want to prioritize symptoms. But as soon as we're starting to resolve, we want everyone to be tested, even asymptomatically. So we're going to be communicating with folks about what's our our testing site capacity, so that people can respond appropriately and get tested. I'll stop there and answer any questions.
Great, Sarah. Thank you very much. Any questions of Ms. Boss about what the information she has provided? It does not look like it, Sarah. So I guess we will continue to keep our fingers crossed, continue to ask our community to wear a mask and stay home if at all possible, work from home if at all possible, wash your hands, and continue to be responsible so that we can get our numbers looking much better than where we are as a county, a region, and the state.
In closing, I'd just like to thank the City of Madera in being such an excellent partner. Last night, we had a call and Arnaldo participated, and your police chief participated, Dino. And there's always such a high level of collaboration, of communication about what can be done and how we can work together. And it's very much appreciated. We really enjoy working with the City of Madera all the time. And certainly during a pandemic, it's so important that we have an excellent relationship, and it's very much appreciated. So wish you very well. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Sarah. You too. Moving on to our next presentation. This is Proclamation Recognizing Small Business Saturday, and I'll apologize once again ahead of time. Our city clerk did email me the proclamation. I was unable to print it, so I don't have it with me, but we will send it off to the proper people. And for the past few years, this council, along with myself, has been recognizing Small Business Saturday, which is that Saturday right after what would traditionally be called Black Friday. As we all know, Black Friday every year gets increasing. It went from Black Friday to even Thanksgiving evening to now even Thanksgiving. And now with COVID, Black Friday seems to have happened already. As we all know, online sales are going crazy. What that does locally it has an effect on us as a city as far as our tax base. But the biggest effect, a negative effect, I will say, is the effect it has on our small business owners. The backbone of the City of Madera are those small mom and pops, those small family owned, those small locally owned businesses who over the last 8 months or so have just absolutely been devastated and has been financially ruining some people, if you will. And now with more online sales and people not participating locally, I'm just really afraid of what those effects are going to be towards the end of the year. So not only do we recognize that Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday, but we should recognize all 7 days of the week as Small Business Saturday. And if at all possible, not just the mom and pop shops, but the restaurants and the salons and the gyms and those places that we might be able to buy gift certificates for, the dance studios. Let's all stick together with the same energy we have to reduce our COVID numbers. Let's all stick together as Maderans and support those small locally owned businesses here in the city and the county of Madera. So we will recognize that Saturday as Small Business Saturday. Thank you for your support with that. Moving on to our third presentation, we have Mr. Levitt. Dan, it's always good to see you, who's going to give us an update on the Amtrak station relocation from Road 26 to Avenue 12. Dan, good to see you.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and the board. Let me share my screen. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we sure
can. Dan, we can hear you.
Great, thank you. So I appreciate this opportunity to give you an update on our efforts to move forward with the Madera Station relocation project. Just a little bit of background. As the mayor mentioned, I'm with the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority, and we are the managing agency for the Amtrak San Joaquin service. We took over the management in 2015. This map shows you our route of the Amtrak San Joaquin service, which goes from Oakland to Bakersfield and from Sacramento to Bakersfield. We also have an extensive throughway bus network, which takes people throughout the rest of the state of California. You see that Madera is located kind of right in the middle of our network. This slide shows the existing Madera station, which is not actually in Madera, it's in Madera County, with the yellow dot at Madera Acres, which is to the north and the east of Madera. The red dashed line are the BNSF tracks, which we run on. We lease slots from the BNSF. We're proposing to relocate the station to the green star, which is shown, which is both to the south and to the east of the city of Madera along Avenue 12. This effort really got going in late 2016. Our board did analysis on all of our stations, all the rail stations, and really found there were some real deficiencies with the existing site at Madera Acres. In particular, with public transportation, there's no direct transit service to the station. There's also, we found that the access to 99 is poor, very low ridership at the station, and there's not a lot of transit development opportunity around the Madera Acres site. We proceeded to work with Madera CDC, who's our member agency for the Joint Powers Authority, with Madera County and with the city of Madera, as well as California State Transportation Agency, CalSTA, and with the California High Speed Rail Authority to really look at the issues surrounding the existing site. And after a series of meetings over a period of time, we really came to a joint conclusion that it was best to try to relocate the station to a location at Avenue 12. And in 2018, we applied for a large grant application with the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program state funds. And as a part of that application, we were awarded $26 million to move the San Joaquin station to the Avenue 12 location. And that application was supported by both Madera CTC and by Madera County as well. We think that the Avenue 12 location has a lot of strong benefits for the region, excellent connectivity to Route 99, transit service, bus lines, 2 bus lines, pre-COVID that had frequent service along Avenue 12 that we could connect into, serving the Avenue 12 corridor, which is a fast-growing part of Madera County, and also being within the Madera State Center Community College specific plan, which did envision a station in this area, and also the possibilities of transitory development around the station. The environmental work that we're doing to proceed with this project includes not only the clearance for moving the San Joaquin station, but also the environmental clearance needed that will enable Madera to be served by high-speed rail with the interim service that is being moving forward with the state between Merced and Bakersfield. And I want to make it clear to the city that our board's our position is once high-speed rail starts between Merced and Bakersfield, that our intention with the San Joaquins is to truncate the San Joaquins at Merced. This is in our business plan, and this has been adopted by our board. We're going to connect with high-speed rail at Merced, and this, also the ACE rail service will extend down to Merced. So we'll all meet at a multimodal station at Merced. At that point, the San Joaquins will go no further south than Merced, and so Madera in the future would only be served by a future high-speed rail station, which today, currently, there's no environmental clearance for. So our environmental process is very important to be able to enable Madera to have a station along the high-speed rail route on the future. And also, I think it's important to note for you that, our next JPA board meeting is this Friday, and we do have an action item on the board meeting for adopting an MOU with the High-Speed Rail Authority and with CalSTA. And this MOU identifies the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority as the operating agency for interim service on the high-speed rail line between Merced and Bakersfield. The environmental work in our project really focus on 2 phases. The first phase is the relocation of the San Joaquin station. The second phase is doing additional improvements needed in order to get high-speed rail to be able to utilize the station. The first phase is fully funded. The second phase is not. And so we're going to have to continue to work with you and with the state and with the county to get additional funds to be able to do the additional improvements. This figure shows the phase 1 of the proposed station relocation, where it's the San Joaquin's relocation. If the current site has about 19 parking places, this one will have 100. As you can, I think a key part of this is that on the shaded area that you see, that land is all owned by high-speed rail. So we're really minimizing the impacts of this project by having pretty much the whole facility, with the exception of some of the access road within that land that high-speed rail owns. This slide shows the phase 2, which is the full build out with high-speed rail for the interim operating service between Merced and Bakersfield. And I'm showing a bigger view here on this slide because with high-speed rail, we do need to build another track to the east of the high-speed rail main lines as part of this, so that the stopping trains can actually stop at the station. And then if you get closer in, you can see that we're adding additional parking capacity and more bus bays would be added for when high-speed rail comes in. So we have over 200 parking spaces at the site. We also expand the access roads, so we have more road capacity as well coming into the station with phase 2. This slide shows the environmental footprint for our environmental document, which is both phase 1 and phase 2. And key here is that also showing the boundary of the State College Community Center specific plan, which is shown in sort of the dashed black line. Our environmental document, which is ISM&D initial study mitigated negative declaration, was released October 14th. It's available on our website. We put out a large number of notifications to large stakeholder lists, as well as to the Madera Tribune, social media and other areas to get the word out about the document being available. We had a 30-day public review period and webinars that we put out on November 5th, and did public announcements about the webinars as well. The review period did end on the 16th, and I did talk with Arnaldo, your city manager. I did notice that we don't have comments that are in from the city. Even though the comment period has ended, if the city does want to proceed with comments, we would treat those as comments received as long as you can get them in by the end of the week. We are on a bit of a tight schedule. But in addition, even though the comment period is over, throughout our process, as we continue, as we get comments, if we do get other input throughout, we do have to take those into consideration. The difference here is that if you get your comments in by the end of the week, we'll be able to fully respond to that in the document. For any comment that you put will be in writing in the document. The document covers all the areas required from CEQA, and we've got 21 different environmental topic areas. For each area, if there are any potential, if we have identified potential impacts that are significant for an ISM&D, we have to also then look at the mitigation measures that are needed in order to reduce those to less than significant. And so in this document, we have done that. And so with mitigation, we have no impacts that are expected to be significant. There are areas too that, in addition to impacts, this brings significant benefit, where in terms of air quality, where we believe there will be benefits there, and energy consumptions and other things like that. So there are benefits associated with this project, not just impacts. And then here's our schedule. This is my last slide. We did officially start this ISM&D process in the spring, and we put out a big announcement back in, it was March 14th, did webinars, and then we put out this draft ISM&D in October. We are looking to certify this at our JPA board meeting on January 22nd. And so we do need to get the final out relatively quickly in order to meet that schedule. We're looking then to go into final design and a construction period that would be getting towards 2023, 2024, and have this fully completed for the first phase, the funded project, by 2024. That then, as long as we get funding, with their current plans, we would need to get the other phase 2 completed by 2029. By 2030 is the time period we're looking to start that service.
Dan, I'd hate to interrupt, but there's a clarifying question from our city manager, if you wouldn't mind repeating this question. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Dan, can you clarify in terms of the future transit stops that Madera is going to have, both Amtrak and then moving forward after the San Joaquins are modified. And I believe you had indicated that they will stop running it at Merced, but there's going to be there's a continued bus or transit service will be continued through Madera. And if memory serves me, on the initial study, I believe it indicated 12 stops in Madera per day.
Well, okay, so I'm a little bit confused by your question, but let me go to this map if this helps.
Yeah.
So as you can see on this figure, you see that there's a stop there that we are expecting to be at Madera. That's for high-speed rail. We will, and I mentioned we expect to be the initial operator for high-speed rail for this Merced to Bakersfield section. And we are also expecting there to be a station at Kings Tulare, but this will be for high-speed trains that run between Merced and Bakersfield. There will be expected 18 trains a day, which is a huge improvement on what we have today. We have 7 round trips today. So with this, and this part of the reason we don't continue to run the San Joaquins is because the infrastructure that's being implemented between Merced and Bakersfield is so far superior than what we are running our trains on that we couldn't be, no one's going to be riding our trains if we kept running them. I mean, we already require a tremendous subsidy, but if we're trying to compete with this new service, which is going to be so far superior, then we're not going to be able to handle the subsidy. It's going to be too great. So by truncating at Merced, we're able to feed into this and support this $20 billion investment the state is putting into the San Joaquin Valley. And so we are working to integrate that with the San Joaquins. So you're looking in 2030, you should get 18 round trips a day. But when you come taking a trip up to Sacramento, you'll have to transfer at Merced over to one of our San Joaquins trains or jump on one of the ACE trains, which we also operate. We're going to operate all 3, high-speed rail, ACE, and San Joaquins.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Yeah, that clarifies it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Was there anything further, Dan, that you wanted to add?
No, that was my last slide. So if there's any questions or areas, I can just jump around to whatever slide you're interested in.
Sure. No, a lot of very valuable information. We really appreciate that. Any of my colleagues or staff have a question of Mr. Levitt regarding this update? Councilman Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Dan, so looking at the project timeline, at what point would you stop service at the current location and commence the service at this new location that's proposed?
That's 2029.
Okay, so meanwhile, the current station stays open up until we have this other stuff ready to go, correct?
No, this station stays open until 2024.
Okay, till 2024. So between that period of time there, what happens with service?
Service stays the same. We are, when I say this, we are probably looking to add at least one more round trip. Once we get out of COVID, right now, we've had to reduce service, but let's just say we get out of COVID within the next year, we would expect us to be able to, before 2024, be able to add at least one more round trip so we'd have 8 round trips. And our document assumes 8 round trips by 2024. And then after that, then it would still be probably 8 round trips, or we might be able to add another one or so. But until 2030 is when you get to the 18 round trips that would be serving Madera. And again, a key thing is we do need some additional. I mean, to do the second phase of this, we do need additional funding. But we're confident that we can get that with the state because they're investing $20 billion for this Merced to Bakersfield section. And so even though we need another $100 million, it's relatively small in comparison to the big investment the state's making.
Okay, thank you, Dan. And I'm sorry, I just need you to clarify this for me because maybe I misunderstood you. So the current station will not be in operation as of 2024, correct?
Correct.
And at that point, they'll be able to have service at this new location?
Yes.
Okay, good.
That's our phase 1 station. Yes.
Okay, great. Now, I know there's a lot of thought going into a proposed location like this, and I know that currently we probably serve about 2,300 riders per month based on the statistics that you have here on Amtrak. What is the proposed ridership that we would have at this new location? I mean, are there any numbers that?
Yeah, and that's in our document. So you know, it's part of our the evaluation that we did. That's somehow we got our some of the benefit analysis in terms, and also looking at some of the impacts as well. So we do estimate that if we didn't move the station, there's no project, then I mean right now in 2019 the ridership at the station was about 27,000 passengers.
27.6, yeah.
So 2024 without moving it, we estimated that would be about over 40,000. There would be an increase, 8 round trips. So you had, and then some growth from population growth. We're estimating it'd be about 40,000 at the new location, because we believe the station has better access to a greater population. We're estimating 100,000 passengers in 2024 at the new location, which is more than twice the passengers. And if you look at your surrounding stations, I mean, today, just checking my numbers, Hanford in 2019 was at 173,000 and Merced was at 110,000. That's in 2019. With an additional round trip and 4 more years, we think it's very reasonable with a better location that has better access that Madera could be carrying 100,000. It fits in very well with what the other stations are doing.
So let me ask you this question. I'm sorry. Now, you said that by 2024, the current location would see about 40,000 in ridership?
And so as compared to 27. So an increase of 13,000 with an additional round trip and with some additional time.
Okay, with additional round trip, I see.
Right.
Because I did notice that over the last, since 2013, it's pretty stagnant. It hasn't really moved. It's been 27,000, maybe up to 28. But I've also noticed that areas like Merced have increased quite a bit, whereas Hanford has decreased their ridership. Can you elaborate as to why? What's happening with the? Yeah,
the Hanford. The main reason the Hanford ridership went down is from changes that we had made in terms of the timing for the early morning train, where it wasn't fitting in so well with the commute. So a lot of that was commuters. So Hanford still remains a high volume station, but part of the reason it's gone down is that with our schedule, it didn't serve the commute as well. And that's something that you'll see. I mean, there'll be a huge difference when you can get 18 round trips a day, because then you're serving much more of the all day transportation. What's difficult is when we only have 7 round trips and 2 of those are to Sacramento and 5 to the Bay Area. The trouble is we're having a system that's serving the whole state, and it's difficult to try to focus on a commute market for a small portion of our trip when we're carrying people from Southern California to Northern California. So that's really why it went down, is because the times weren't as good for the people who are making daily commutes.
Yeah, and last question here, Dan, and you probably weren't part of this, not sure if you were or not, but as you said earlier, Amtrak has been subsidized for some time, and I know that in our previous station, prior to the one located now, like I said, ridership was probably around the same 27,000 annually. The decision made to put this temporary station here, why wasn't it thought that maybe having a 12 at that time would be a better location, or some other location that gave access to more of the State 99 route and what have you? And again, I'm not sure if you were part of that decision making.
Yeah.
But any thought as to why maybe moving it out here at the time? Was that?
You'd have to talk with some of the folks. Not really sure, especially since it was in the specific plan.
Yeah.
To have a station there, so I'm not really sure. That was a while back, and we were not part of that. We were not involved with the San Joaquins at that time when the decision was made. I can tell you that had we been around, I don't think it would have moved where it did.
Yeah. Okay, Dan. Well, thank you. Appreciate all the information. Appreciate all the work that you've done on this here. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. And I just want to let you know we're real excited about this, and we're really hoping to do good things for the community.
And the 100,000, and that's drawing from within the area, right? Not necessarily from the city, but how many miles around that? Are you talking about 25 miles?
It captures, in part, I mean, one thing that's key here is this location, because it is has the good access to 99. It captures, it serves the city of Madera well. It also serves the Avenue 12 corridor. It does pick up some of some folks from North Fresno and even Clovis, that it does pick up people traveling north for those markets. So you get a larger population that is served by this, but certainly because of the access to 99, we think even places as far north as Chowchilla don't get a negative effect, because it doesn't really take them much longer to get to the station, even though it's further south.
Thanks again, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. Very valuable information. We appreciate you giving us the update, and hopefully as things progress, you can continue to, at the least, keep our city manager updated, or make a regular visit to council to keep them abreast of what's going on.
Thank you. I'm happy to talk with you guys at any time.
Great. Thank you very much. You have a good evening.
Thank you. Take care.
Moving on to consent calendar, the matters listed under consent are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. If there is separate discussion, I will ask my colleagues now if they wish to pull or further discuss any consent item. Seeing none, I'll ask our city clerk if anyone from the public has requested any consent item for further discussion.
No, Mayor.
Thank you very much. With that, I'll bring it back to my colleagues for action on the consent calendar.
Move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman. It's been moved by Councilman Rodriguez and seconded by Councilwoman Gallegos to approve the consent calendar as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 6-0 unanimously, with Councilman Hawley being absent. Moving on to our first public hearing, this is item C1, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, also known as DBE program, and implementation agreement with the California Department of Transportation, or Caltrans. I believe Ms. Bitter will be presenting this evening. Hello, Ellen, how are you?
Good evening, I'm well, thank you. And hello to the rest of the council. Again, my name's Ellen Bitter with the Engineering Division. I'd like to share my screen now. Does everyone see that PowerPoint?
Yes, we can, Ellen. We still see. There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so tonight's item before you is consideration of basically a new and improved disadvantaged business enterprise program. Having a compliant DBE program is required in order to receive federal funding from the Department of Transportation. For the city, that is our CMAQ dollars, the Active Transportation Program grant funds, HSIP grant, the Highway Safety Improvement Program. That is the grant that was presented to you a couple meetings back. We're applying for some safety funds. And then, of course, the BPMP is our bridge maintenance funds. Represents almost $5 million over the next 5 years of these federal dollars. So it's important that we stay up to date with what the requirements. Transit program and airport have similar DBE programs, but they are a little different because of the activities that are involved, and the different types of DBE opportunities are different than what we typically experience with federal highway dollars. So just a little background, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, or DBE, is a for-profit small business concern that is at least 51% owned by one or more individuals who are both socially and economically disadvantaged, or in the case of a corporation, in which 51% of the stock is owned by one or more such individuals. And also whose management and daily business operations are controlled by one or more of the socially and economically disadvantaged individuals who own it. The DBE program must comply with Title 49 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 26. And the intent is to ensure non-discrimination in awarding and administration of these federally funded projects, and it is to help remove the barriers for participation by the DBE firms, and to also assist in the development of those firms so they can compete successfully outside of these goals that are established through our program. The City of Madera's program is based on a model program that's developed by Caltrans. Caltrans administers the federal funds that are passed through to the city, so they have also the responsible oversight for our DBE program. So several years ago, it worked best where the agencies just adopted Caltrans program as their own and then just tweaked it as needed. The current program that we have in place was adopted back in 2009. Earlier this year in September, Caltrans updated their procedures and in order to improve compliance by not only their own projects, but also their member agency projects to be more compliant with the federal regulations. So what has changed in the new program before you tonight is primarily language that's to be inserted into the contracts related to prompt payment to from prime contractors to their DBE subcontractors, or in the case of maybe a design contract from engineering consultants to their subconsultants. It specifies a time frame from when they receive their payment that their DBE firms and all of their subcontractors need to receive their payment. And then it also specifies the time frames for the city to pay, make prompt payment to the prime contractors such that they can in turn turn around and pay their subcontractors accordingly. So tonight's action and recommendation is to adopt the resolution that approves the DBE program, which is approving the implementation agreement with Caltrans since they are the oversight. And then I just wanted to follow that once the new program is adopted, then the city engineer circulates a policy statement expressing our commitment to the DBE program. It's going to go throughout city staff and also to DBE and non-DBE organizations that we work through, builders exchanges and other sources that we have to reach out to those firms. I did want to note that an astute council member caught a very important typo to be changed in our policy statement, and so we will be correcting the language to not set us back in time to bring us forward in addressing these DBE concerns. So that concludes my presentation if you have any questions.
Great, Ms. Bitter, thank you very much. Any questions from Ms. Bitter on this particular report? I don't see any. I'll ask our city clerk if we have received any comments or questions regarding this particular item.
No, Mayor, none received.
Thank you. So if there are no further questions or discussions, I'll bring it back to council for action on this item.
So I'll move to approve C1 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Gallegos and seconded by Councilman Robinson to approve item C1. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously 6-0 with Councilman Hawley being absent. Thank you very much for that, Ellen. And moving on to item D1, this is Rule 20B, agreements with PG&E to perform tariff schedule related work for undergrounding. I believe Mr. Helmuth will be giving this presentation. Keith, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Actually, Ellen Bitter will be giving this one, and I will be following up on the fire station.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will jump right into sharing my screen again. There we go. So this item tonight is related to the, why is my wrong screen? Apologize. There we go. Oh. Excuse me. There. I think I got it. No, I'm sorry. It's not advancing. I apologize, my slideshow is not advancing. I can prepare it, present it verbally, if that's okay.
Yeah, why don't we do that, Ellen? That would be fine.
Okay. All right, so the item before you tonight is related to the Olive Avenue widening project, and it is specifically related to the conversion of the overhead utilities to underground to make way for the newly widened roadway. This is a Rule 20 project, a Rule 20B project, and it ties in all of the big three, I call them utilities, which are Comcast Communications, AT&T, and then also PG&E. We have already prepared arrangements with Comcast, and we have an agreed upon payment schedule and agreement with AT&T that was presented last year. And so this represents the third leg of the three, with the agreement with PG&E for their role in undergrounding of the utilities. Theirs is the most extensive, as it covers all the way from Gateway past Roosevelt, picking up a pole that's near Sierra Vista School. And it's quite extensive going under the railroad. And they also set up and established for any future new connections to serve the vacant parcels. With a Rule 20B project, the applicant bears most of the cost for the undergrounding. They pay the cost to install the conduits and the substructures. They also pay for the design by the utilities, and also for their efforts in placing the new facilities within the substructure that's created. And then also the removal of the overhead. So, but we do receive a credit for the value of the overhead features that would have been required to be relocated as part of the road widening. So that is factored in. So the two agreements, it's one lump sum payment, but it covers, it's broken down into two agreements. The one in the amount of $377,559 is primarily for the underground system costs that are being converted, less the costs associated with the overhead, as I mentioned before. And then the second agreement in the amount of $97,823 is it's to accommodate the rearrangement of the power source for the well site that's at Olive and D. Right now, the transformer is right in the middle of where the new intersection is going to be, so that has to be relocated and reconfigured on that site. It also provides new service for the new traffic signal at Olive and Roosevelt and all of the streetlights along the Olive Avenue project. And then any other Rule 20B costs that are not associated with the widening aspect, those are also included in the overall cost for this agreement. So the total for both of those agreements was $475,383.11. So the procedure is, if the council approves the agreements and said payment to PG&E, then we are set to schedule for their construction crews to complete the conversion of their overhead utilities. If there are any other questions, or if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Great, Ellen. Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Bitter regarding this particular project? Seeing none, I'll ask our city clerk if we received anything via email regarding item D1.
No, Mayor, none received.
Thank you, Alicia. And for some of those details or for the slides that we did not receive, I'm sure you can contact Ms. Bitter and she would be happy to send those to you. That being said, I'll ask council for action on item D1.
Motion to approve D1.
Second.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia and seconded by Councilman Rodriguez to approve item D1. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously, 6-0, with Councilman Hawley being absent. Thank you very much, Ellen. We appreciate those presentations.
Thank you.
Moving on to item D2, this is acceptance of fire station number 58 and amendments to related consultant agreements with RRM Design Group, Inc. and Moore Twinning Associates, Inc. This one, Mr. Helmuth, I believe you will be presenting, correct?
That is correct, Mayor. Thank you. And with any luck, my slides are going to turn. Uh-oh. Oh, there they go. Okay, this is for the Fire Station 58 acceptance and amendments to the RRM Design Group and Moore Twinning Associates. This is the fire station complete, a front view of it. It's looking pretty good right here. And I think we're all very proud of it. I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of background. The contract for the to Davis Moreno Construction was awarded on October 17, 2018. The fire station itself is 8,933 square feet. It includes a reception area, staff offices, sleeping quarters, kitchen, dining room, and a day room. The original plan budget for the fire station was about $8.2 million. That included a number of sundry items, not just the construction, but the construction management and other pieces of equipment for the station, including turnouts and fire hoses and stuff like that. The total construction ended up coming in around $7.6 million, about $575,000 under the original plan budget. In addition to that, we had a land cost of about $300,000. I call that about $300,000 because the city purchased 4 parcels originally when planning for the station. So the station sits on about 1.5 to 1 3/4 parcels, if I recall correctly. So the total cost of the facility is approaching about $8 million, not including the architect and other things included in that. The funding for the project was Measure K. It paid for the project through 2 methods. One's a pay-go and the other is through a bond. When I say pay-go, that essentially meant that we were paying for the fire station out of cash flow up until the point that the cash in the bank wouldn't cover it. And at that point, we put a bond out in the street, and our net proceeds from that was about $4.5 million. I want to go ahead and highlight something on this. The project was awarded within the last few weeks, Project of the Year through the American Public Works Association. That was for the Small City Rurals Community category. So we're very proud of that. Councilwoman Gallegos presented for that. Tonight's actions were to approve amendments for construction services, the testing and architectural. Why are we doing that? Because we did have an extended construction schedule. That schedule included primarily weather and COVID-19 related concerns or delays. There were also a number of enhancements that we added to the station that increased some of the time frame involved with that. We're also looking to adopt a minute order accepting fire station construction. That minute order includes change orders, the typical ones that you might see through the normal course of construction, and also includes those enhancements I was talking about. Includes a SCBA unit in air tanks. It's basically that's an apparatus to go ahead and fill the air tanks when the firemen go out and they go to a fire and they need to then they use tanks. They come back to the station and they refill those tanks using a unit that they have on site. It has other various upgrades. It has terrazzo flooring, which was not originally in the budget. Has exercise equipment detox unit, low voltage system for radios, hose drying rack, security cameras, and upgrade refrigerator, among a number of things. Much of these were not originally included in the budget, or they might have been included in various items, but those came through the actual contingencies. Number of other pictures with the facility. We've got a little bit side angle on the facility, a complete side, and then looking at the I guess those are called the apparatus bays. The recommended action for tonight is to approve the RRM Design Group amendment, the Moore Twinning amendment, and then adopt a minute order accepting the fire station. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I also do have the construction manager for the fire station available if there are any questions that I can't answer.
Thank you, Keith. Very good report. Any questions of Mr. Helmuth? or staff for that matter on this particular item? Seeing none, I'll ask our city clerk if we've received any comment requests or suggestions for item D2.
No, Mayor, none received.
Thank you very much, Alicia. If there are no further comments or discussions, I will call for action on item D2.
I'll make a motion to approve D2.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Robinson and seconded by Councilwoman Gallegos to approve item D2. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously 6-0 with Councilman Hawley being absent. And we look forward to that ribbon cutting for that beautiful fire station. Thank you very much, Keith.
Thank you.
And congratulations again, Chief Watson. Looking forward to seeing that up and running very soon.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members, and CC Gallegos for all your help, Councilwoman, through all this, and we really appreciate it. And once this COVID season's over, we will have a grand opening. This is truly a gem for the city and going to provide such a great service for the citizens. So thanks again, Mayor and Council, and we'll continue to make the city proud. Thank you.
As always, thank you, Chief, for those words. Moving on to E, these are administrative reports. Item E1 is the discussion and the status on action taken on measures to mitigate COVID-19. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'm not going to get into the COVID numbers in terms of the county's status in the purple tier because Sarah Boss provided an overview earlier this evening. With that being said, tomorrow we will be having another free PPE day at the Madera County Fairgrounds. We currently have about 100 local businesses that have registered for the giveaway, and this would be PPE free of cost to local businesses to provide to their employees. We had a giveaway, council may recall, probably a month or so ago, and we had several hundred businesses. Well, we were fortunate that we were able to commandeer some additional PPE from some surrounding communities. And so anyone that had leftover PPE, we said the city of Madera would gladly take it. And we currently have, even after the giveaway tomorrow, which again, we have about 100 local businesses that are pre-registered. Registration is appreciated, but it's not mandatory. So if there are local businesses tomorrow, my suggestion is that they simply show up and request PPE. What we did to market this, we used our social media, but we also sent a postcard recently, maybe 2 weeks ago or 2.5 weeks ago. We sent a postcard to eligible businesses, and the city paid for the postcard. That ran us a couple of $100 to every local business. So even after tomorrow, if the 100 local businesses arrive and they collect their PPE, we will still have roughly 35,000 masks available. So again, we would have 35,000 masks available, over half a pallet of hand sanitizer, and a decent amount. Actually, we will not have any more face shields. I apologize. So we will have 35,000 masks. We'll have over half a pallet of hand sanitizer. Again, that's for local businesses to distribute to their employees. We obviously heard Sarah indicate earlier today that unfortunately our numbers have been increasing. So we just want to be sure that if our local businesses are going to be open, that they're providing PPE to their employees. And this is this is what the city's simply trying to do to make sure that our community is protected. With that being said, if you pass by City Hall right now, it looks lonelier than it has in the past 9 months. And that's simply because we are currently doing some renovations at City Hall, and we've been asked to stay away for a couple of days. So as of right now, we may be back in the building on Monday. I'm sorry, on Friday. We may not, depending on how construction goes. And if we know anything about construction, is that you never quite know exactly how it's going to go. With that being said, though, is the past couple of days have provided us with an opportunity to kind of re-examine some of our operations, because we are currently telecommuting and we have employees in offices that they traditionally are not in. And we've identified some efficiencies specifically to utility billing and the phone answering system. So while we're currently not at City Hall, I think at the same time, it's provided us an opportunity to kind of re-examine our phone system and our answering services. And I think we made some tremendous improvements over the past couple of days. That was primarily through Mark Sodders, our IT manager, and Roger Sanchez, our finance director. So hopefully the communities, I'm not going to say is going to see no disruptions in service. However, I'd like to think that they're going to see enhanced levels of customer service because of some of the improvements we've made over the past couple of days. So with that being said, thank you very much, Mayor. And if council has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, for that report. Any questions of our city manager? Does not look like it. Thank you. And appreciate the open door policy. If there are any future questions, council, staff, or the community can certainly reach you. Moving into council member reports, starting with Council Member Robinson, your report, please.
Stay safe. Thank you.
Stay safe, short and sweet, very impactful. Thank you very much for that. Councilwoman Gallegos.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Garcia.
As we approach the holiday season, it's important to listen to the message from our partner at the Madera County Public Health, Sarah Boss, asking us to please do everything that we can to protect our friends and family. The Garcias traditionally have large groups having lunch during Thanksgiving, having dinner, and we've drastically changed because of what COVID is doing to our families across the country and across the world. And so we're limiting our gathering this year for the very first time, and actually talking about excluding and having conversations with family members to please have smaller gatherings in their homes. And so, you know, I could never tell anybody what to do or how to proceed, but we're back in the situation again, as Sarah was saying, that we're having increased contaminations. Our ICUs are at max right now. And so what we need to set the example and try to do the best we can to make sure that we protect our friends and our families during this holiday season. The last thing I want to say is that during this time, it's also really important to remember that this is a busy season for nonprofits, and they can certainly use our help to be able to provide anything at all that they can to those that are in need, those who, for no fault of their own, have lost their jobs, have been laid off, and then our businesses, of course, are being closed. So during this holiday season, bless you all. Have a safe and happy holidays, and remember to wear a mask, wash your hands, and maintain social distancing. Thank you very much.
Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Medoyan. I too will make it short and quick. I got tested for COVID myself, and I know that Sarah Boss had mentioned that if we work with people, especially in the business sector, that you do the prudent steps of getting yourself tested. And I think that helps the positivity rate and also helps us identify. But I will say that at first I thought it'd be invasive, but it was a simple procedure. The county does offer that drive-through. And I tell you, a lot of people there in line already, and they're participating and doing their part in trying to beat this widespread of COVID. So I would encourage folks out there too, that if you haven't got tested, to go out there and make sure that you're not putting other folks at risk as well. So with that, Ms. Mayor, those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman. I couldn't agree more. Councilman Montes.
We'll be quick too. Happy holidays, everybody, and stay safe.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman. And back to Councilman Rodriguez's report. I too recently got tested because the county is asking people to get tested, and it was a very, very simple procedure. I made an appointment for about 48 hours after the time I went online, and it was a very, very simple procedure. And about 3 days later, I got the results, which came back negative. And I encourage more people in our community to get tested as often as possible. And as we enter into the holiday time, especially Thanksgiving, specifically Thanksgiving, there's a silver lining to what's going on in our community, in our state, and in our nation. And it's we do have a lot to be thankful for. This is a time to reach out to family members and friends and loved ones and check on them. A lot of people are feeling the strain, whether it's a financial strain or the strain of their students, their children not being able to go to school. And just dealing with the pandemic in general, that it is a very difficult time, and there's pandemic fatigue that is going on. And so I want to personally thank my friends and my family and my loved ones. And I would like to thank the members of the team at the City of Madera, the hundreds of employees that are dedicated to the City of Madera. I thank you very, very much. And I wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. To our directors, the ones I see here in front of me at this meeting and those that work at City Hall, thank you for your dedication and your commitment to moving our city forward. I also want to thank the partners that I personally have encountered over the years at the county, at Madera Unified School District. And as I reflect on those friendships and those partnerships and how it takes a village, how it takes a number of dedicated people to make things happen in our community, I say thank you. I say thank you to my friends at CAPMC and the Downtown Association. I say thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and to our friends at Madera Unified School District and all the teachers and bus drivers and staff and everybody who are just so dedicated to this community. I miss Neighborhood Watch, and I miss speaking to our friends that we share stories in their driveways and garages and living rooms. And so I say thank you to the captains and all those dedicated people to Neighborhood Watch that have formed a wonderful partnership with our community. The youth leaders and Youth Leadership Institute that is training the next council and the next mayor and our next leaders in our community. I thank you for YLI. Our Sikh community, our Oaxacan community, our sister cities in Taiwan, and all those communities that have come out from the shadows and want to be counted and want to be accepted and want to be part of this community. I thank you. The Ministerial Association in our community that have done so much through prayer. It's not political, it's about human beings. And when they pray for our first responders, and they pray for our teachers, and they pray for our law enforcement, and they pray for our hospitals, it just means so much. And so I say thank you. And I thank you to the partnerships that I've made in Sacramento and even in Washington, D.C. and in our region. I have a huge appreciation for those first responders and for all the members of Madera Police Department and of CAL FIRE that truly put their life on the line every day. And from the fires we've had recently on Sunset and the fire that this community will not forget for a long, long time, downtown Madera, where it took a number of people, no questions asked, responded. And although we lost a building, a historical building, buildings were saved because of the swift work by the men and women of CAL FIRE. And those members of Madera Police Department who work tirelessly, who work 12-hour shifts 4 days in a row to find out that maybe somebody is sick or cannot come to work, and they volunteer to say, I'll step in, chief, and I got this. When certain heinous crimes happen, and they don't look at the watch or their clock, they work until that crime is solved, and that's happened recently. And so I say thank you to the dedicated men and women. This community is lucky to have you serving this community. There's been a number of projects over the last few years that I personally am very proud of, and this community should be very proud of. In speaking with those relationships in Washington, D.C., and my friend Jim Costa, we worked very, very hard to get funding for the widening of 99, which is coming to fruition. And unfortunately, it wasn't. It's a little bit late on schedule, but by next spring, we'll have 6 lanes going and coming through the city of Madera. This means so much to our community, not only for the safety factor, for development as well. The Loves Travel Center, Freedom Industrial Park, the solar project, which people are asking about now as we put up solar throughout our community, and the savings is going to go towards streetlights, which those 2 are up, which this community is very, very appreciative of. this community 4 years ago overwhelmingly supported Measure K. And it just shows their commitment, their dedication to our first responders and law enforcement. And we see the fruits of that labor with this new fire station we recently spoke about and the new personnel. Again, Madera is so very lucky, and I'm very thankful for those who supported and will continue to support Measure K. Things like our new high school, our third high school, which has been a long time coming, the county campus, State Center Community College, which is now accredited, an accredited college. So much has happened in our community over the years. I'm very, very proud to have served and serve this community. I have served on boards and commissions like LAFCO, where we annex properties into the city, and we annex properties in Chowchilla and in the ranchos and in the mountain communities. And I've worked together with amazing leaders from Chowchilla in the county. Madera County Transportation Commission, which has provided so much by way of the downtown housing project and transportation dollars and the widening of 99, as I had mentioned. I've served on Economic Development Commission, where we are able to revitalize Bethard Square shopping center from what was once really a dilapidated shopping center where I grew up and went to school. Now is thriving. I've been a member of the Valley Voice, supporting other counties in this state and having the support of those counties with Madera County. I'd like to thank my family who have supported me in my endeavors, my employees who understand that their boss is not always at work, my wife and children who have sacrificed more than anybody will ever know. And I ask for prayers for my mother as she battles cancer. She has been my #1 fan, and I love her very much. I dedicated my term as mayor to my mother, and I'm very proud of the last 4 years. I wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. We have lots to be thankful for. Thank you for the time, and thank you for listening, and everybody have a wonderful evening. With that, I will ask our city attorney to make the closed session announcement.
Thank you, Mayor. And guess what? I just got disconnected. I just had the agenda in front of me. Let me see if I can pull it up. I've had a hard time all evening. There it goes. It's conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D4. It's one case, City of Madera versus High Speed Rail Authority. And before we go into closed session, I do want to thank the city mayor and council for this last year and all of their staff and the city of Madera for having me as your city attorney. Thanksgiving's my favorite day of the year. And so I want to wish all of you a safe and happy Thanksgiving. And I'll join you in closed session shortly.
Thank you, Hilda. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. We are now going to adjourn to closed session.
This is where one of 2 3-story apartment buildings for vets will be built. Construction for the second location will take place right across the street. Both structures providing affordable options for those who have served our country. We're live in Madera. Corey James, ABC 30 Action News.
It's unfortunate that we couldn't do a groundbreaking ceremony like we traditionally do, where we acknowledge the projects being started, the cooperation amongst the different agencies that are here. But unfortunately, because of COVID, we can't do that. Even though my partners aren't here with me today, I acknowledge them and the hard work that they're doing to make this project come to fruition. Keep wearing a mask, social distance, and we will defeat COVID, and we will get back to a semblance of normalcy.
The challenges of the pandemic are great. As we know, we're all facing difficulties, but at the City of Madera, we're still moving forward. We're still putting dirt in the air. The need for affordable housing is great, and what better than combine the two of affordable housing for our veterans, our seniors, and our families, and right here in the heart of our downtown.
This is a great example of what a handful of partners can do to create this synergy and realize a project of this size. With the shortage of inventory, especially in the sense in affordable housing, to meet the demands of our veterans, our seniors, and those low-income families, with the small investment that the city made, we're looking at capturing over $3.7 million in infrastructure with transportation, ADA, and other transportation needs that we need for our community. The synergy that's created with public and private partnerships is huge. The investment that we're making here and the return we're getting back is bigger than what we can imagine.
We have been trying to make improvements in downtown Madera for years. For us to be awarded these monies, $11 million to start this project, means more affordable housing and an uplifting of the downtown area, making it a better place for people to come and live and be able to come and shop.
We started with hosting roundtable community meetings with various organizations in Madera to discuss housing and the needs in the community. And that's sort of where this thing took off. We kept hearing over and over again the huge need for more housing in downtown Madera. We started looking at infill sites that were publicly owned. We invited the Strategic Growth Council from Sacramento down to take a van tour. They pointed to the downtown site and said that would be a good one.
COVID-19 affecting our economy and affecting our city in so many ways. It's nice to continue to see growth and continue to see prosperity within our city limits. It's important that we provide housing, especially for our veterans. I mean, they've given so much to us. You know, as a child of a veteran and a grandchild of a veteran, all those people, not just the ones in my family, but wherever they are, that we make sure that we honor them and pay them their due respect.
When we talk about walkability, when we talk about investing in our small businesses, downtown Madera truly is the backbone of who we are. It was a number of partners that shared that vision, that came together so that this downtown housing project can come to fruition. It really shows that a community that can come together and work together, anything is possible.
This is where one of 2-3
have our city attorney make an announcement.
Thank you, Mayor. There is, the city council met in closed session with council member Holly absent. There is no reportable action.
Great. With that, thank you, Hilda, and thank you everybody for joining us. Have a safe and wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Have a good evening.
Have a good